No criminal charges will be filed in connection to the death of Dion Johnson. He was shot by a DPS trooper early in the morning on Memorial Day at the Loop 101 and Tatum. The trooper was not wearing a body camera. The county attorney saying charges are not warranted in this case and that the trooper feared for his life. So joining us right now to explain all of this is Maricopa County Attorney Allister Adel. County Attorney, I want to thank you for being with us this morning. I want to ask you, though, why not let a jury decide the outcome in this case?
Well, thank you for having me. And that's a great question. We as prosecutors wield great power, and our ethical standards are higher than most lawyers. And so when we look at a case for charging, we don't just look at it as, can we get a conviction? But is there a reasonable likelihood of conviction? Because we don't want to have people going into court, taking time away from employment or schools, taxing our justice system, if we do not think that there is a reasonable likelihood of conviction. In this case, a committee came forward and gave me a recommendation, and I ultimately made the decision. And I trust that the committee's collective recommendation that this was not a good thing for us to go forward with.
A follow-up question to that, though. Obviously, we mentioned there was no body camera video. There was no dash camera video either. So how can we be entirely sure that Trooper Cervantes' claims in this case are accurate without that footage?
Well, anytime we have additional evidence, that's always helpful. In this case, we had the trooper's statement to the Phoenix Police Department when he was interviewed a week later. But we also had corroborating evidence from witnesses, some that were driving by and that called 911, and those that were also in the Arizona Department of Transportation's Traffic Operations Center that corroborated what Trooper Cervantes had said. Body-worn camera footage is helpful in the sense that is additional information. Would it have changed the outcome in here? I don't know, and I can't speculate to that. However, I believe it's important that we mandate body-worn cameras on all uniformed officers in the field, because more evidence is helpful for us as prosecutors, the public, and the community.
Okay, and how can we go about mandating that? Is there a role that the county attorney's office can play in that?
Most of our, in Maricopa County, our cities have body-worn cameras deployed already. DPS is a statewide agency. They do not have body-worn cameras deployed. So it's something that I will be advocating for with the legislature and our governor, that we allocate funds in our budget to get body-worn cameras on our Department of Public Safety.
A few things that people are raising questions about this morning. Trooper Cervantes took almost a week before he went to speak to investigators. And also, we've reported this, that he has 13 different marks on his record there, on his personnel record, that wasn't accounted for in this decision. So what do you say to people who are questioning those decisions right now?
We look at the facts of the case. What happened in that few minutes of their interaction, that struggle in the middle of the freeway. We did not take into account Officer Cervantes' prior record. We did not take into account Mr. Johnson's prior record, because we looked at the facts of this particular incident.
As we wrap up, I want to ask you this. Obviously, this is an election year. Your opponent in the race here for county attorney, Julie Gunnigal, released a statement last night calling the decision not to move forward an act of cowardice. I want your response to that. And I also want your response to this. How do we assure people in Maricopa County, this community, that they will be safe when they're interacting with law enforcement, especially our communities of color?
Well, that's a great question. I can tell you that it's unfortunate that my opponent has not read all the police reports and seen the videos that I have. I had the benefit of having a critical incident team review of experts, and also, under my commitment to transparency, citizen advisory members, 4 of them, that joined us for this, that gave me advice, and ultimately I made the decision. And we have to go by our ethical standards and what the law tells us what to do. And while it may be unfortunate, we cannot proceed unethically in court. If anybody is concerned in this community, we're in a different climate now, especially with the pandemic. And that's why we have these conversations. We have difficult conversations, and that's why I've engaged a community advisory board. a business advisory board. I engaged our community advisory board right after this discussion, because we all need to be there for each other and do better and be better.
Maricopa County Attorney Allister, Adel, I want to thank you so much for being with us this morning and briefing us on this case. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.